Hi, my name is Megan Kennedy, and I'm a lead IT application analyst at Mayo Clinic, where I've been for 16 years. 13 of those years have been in IT, and the last 3+ years I've been within the APM program, maturing and growing it into the service that it is now. In my free time, between working and raising small children, I have a passion for running, particularly in the marathon. And now I'll hand it over to Ann Roweter.
Hi, my name is Ann Roweter, and I am a senior IT analyst programmer at Mayo Clinic. I've been with Mayo for 10 years, 7 of those in IT, and the last 2 with the APM program. When I'm not immersed in APM, I'm busy training my little baby boy to become the next first baseman of the New York Yankees. And I'll turn it over to Ann Bills.
Hello, I'm Ann Bills. I'm an IT application architect at Mayo Clinic, a registered nurse of 35 years, 25 of those with Mayo and the past 12 in IT. I've been a part of the APM program for 2 years. In my free time, I like to garden and work on my golf game with the goal of beating my husband's score at least once.
Welcome to Application Portfolio Management. One small step for IT, one giant leap for customer satisfaction. We appreciate your deciding to join us in this digital experience today. How many of you have been involved in a project or initiative that was foreign to your organization prior or felt impossible to implement? Us too. And that's what our story is about today. We will walk you through our journey to establish an APM program at Mayo Clinic, what guided us down the path, and how ServiceNow became our primary tool to make this mission possible, even sustainable. This is our story of how many small steps can drive giant, rewarding steps for our customers. Here is our safe harbor notice. And now I'd like to walk you through what you will learn today. We'd like for you to understand who we are, how it began, and the approach we took to get where we are now. The challenges and roadblocks within organizational acceptance, resources, and technical components, particularly the organizational constraints and culture impact. Some key takeaways as what we learned through this process, some of our wins, and where we are going in the future. Who we are. Mayo Clinic is a large multi-system healthcare organization. And to give you a sense of the scale of the 65,000 plus employees across Mayo Clinic, our IT department is roughly 2,000 FTEs. Organization is over 125 years old, and we have a very long and rich culture. One of our hallmarks of our care model is integration and coordination of care, which leads to excellent results and outcomes. The primary value, the needs of the patient come first, has guided Mayo Clinic's practice throughout its history and at every Mayo Clinic campus. The image to the right, an example of a high altitude pressure suit, or often referred to as a G suit. This was developed by Dr. Earl Wood, who provided nearly 5 decades of outstanding leadership to Mayo Clinic and scientific advancements to the world. His achievements made manned spaceflight possible and contributed to American national defense since World War II. His legacy of discovery will benefit society for decades to come. Mayo Clinic continues an aerospace medicine program to this day. And our APM program is much like aerospace and spaceflight missions. We plan to share with you all our journey into the unknown. We're top ranked more often. Mayo Clinic is the #1 hospital overall. We have a multidisciplinary approach for complex care. And we have major campuses in Rochester, Minnesota, Jacksonville, Florida, Scottsdale and Phoenix, Arizona, and then dozens of other locations within our health systems that span several states. So we're known for treating patients with difficult to treat conditions, which requires many specialties offered with leading expertise. This year alone, 1.2 million people from all 50 states and 138 countries came to Mayo Clinic for care. The complexity of our organization lends to a large and complex set of applications and technologies spread across various clinical practice areas and business departments. Within the Mayo Clinic organization, we have a standard set of definitions, but also we practice this within the APM program. So we use these acronyms regularly throughout the presentation, so I wanted to highlight a few. The first one is CSO. This refers to Clinical Systems Oversight, and this is our APM governing body. The second is department. When we mention the word department, we're referring to our clinical area of the organization. For example, Department of Cardiology, Department of Radiology. How it began, our journey into the unknown. The photo to the right depicts the early launch of Mercury in 1958. Project Mercury was the first human spaceflight program in the United States, running from 1958 to 1963. Our journey is a lot like that of Project Mercury. We started with 2 people and an idea. We combined 2 IT units with different skill sets. We began to pilot a service that had never been performed at Mayo Clinic prior. And even though we were operating within our IT units, our direction came from CSO and their objectives were outlined for us to deliver upon. We questioned many times if we could do this and if our organization would support this. I assume that those involved with the Mercury project questioned this many times as well. What we did, continuing our mission. APM successfully launched and completed our first mission with the Department of Cardiology in 2018. But much like Project Mercury, this was just the beginning. To continue our mission, we needed to educate others of the services provided, selling ourselves. We needed to establish a document repository. We established a governance structure. We strengthened our partnerships. We developed a framework and processes. We began engagements with 3 additional departments. All of these were large, complex departments with large application portfolios. And we designed and implemented phase 1 of the APN module within ServiceNow. This is a framework, a snapshot of how we organize our work for the APM program. And there's a lot of text on here, and this is difficult to read. So the focus should really just be taking your eyes towards the top with the blue arrows, and it's just outlining the 4 work streams, the 4 main work streams to get from the beginning of an engagement to an end of an engagement, and then refreshing or re-engaging with the department on an annual basis. And really what this is depicting is not just the work streams, but how APM is in the center of it all, tying the business with the technology. Partnering across IT, mission design team for Mayo Clinic. We have built partnerships with several IT teams through the growth of our service, some more difficult than others. We consider these our mission design team, as they all play an important role in the success of the services we provide to the clinical departments. The roles that are at the center of our mission design teams are the 2 different architects, and I will speak briefly to them. The business architect and how they integrate with APM is they provide a larger view of the organization, more holistic view, and they help to tie in the 2030 vision the Mayo Clinic has with meeting our strategic goals. They also assist with the governing decisions. The application architect and how they integrate with APM is they help translate the technology components of the applications for small number of applications to a large suite of applications. And they ensure that the technology roadmap and the portfolio are cohesive. They also trigger early planning and architecture work on key projects. Our IT customer relationship managers our application support teams, our architects, our electronic health record support teams, etc., among those that have knowledge of the ServiceNow platform and who we lean on for knowledge of those applications. Our goal in the future is to educate these same teams on the use of our APM module. Our primary struggles with the partnerships across the IT divisions and various teams have been the lack of understanding in what we do and what expectations we have for them, competing priorities within IT and within the organization, different workflows, and conflicting direction from leadership. Communication and leadership. Through this process, we have learned that communication is the center of it all. A concise message to everyone we initially engage with and thereafter is critical to our success. Our first step in understanding the organization structure is different depending on the department we are engaging with. But as mentioned prior, we are a practice leadership-driven organization, and we must utilize governing bodies. We must identify sponsors or champions from the very beginning. We need to socialize the value of the service, initially and throughout. We need to identify priorities for ourselves and for our customers, target all communications to the specific audience, and lastly, transmit the message. To be transparent in our expectations and timelines, to continue to enforce the value in this work, to be the voice of leadership and ensure their mission is being executed. And now I will hand it over to Ann Roeder, who will take us down our long and difficult journey.
Thank you, Megan. Before I begin going through our module build, I'd like to start out by showing you some of the positive outcomes of our hard work. As of this month, we have 956 business applications in our APM module. These applications represent 4 departments at Mayo. While working with these 4 departments, we discovered 299 applications that were not previously part of their portfolio. We've incorporated 5 new data fields into the module, which include items like application category and application classification. We have standardized our status types. Before, we had about 10 different statuses that each department was using for their applications. We've brought that number down to 4. We've retired 285 business applications while working with these 4 departments. Now that our data is in the module, we save approximately 2 hours for each report request we get. Retiring applications and consolidating the portfolios of 4 departments has so far saved $72,000. Keep in mind, we do not have many cost figures integrated into ServiceNow just yet, so this is not a complete number. Now that you've seen some of the benefits of our module, let's take you back to our build journey. In its infancy, our APM team worked in Excel spreadsheets with each department. We'd download the applications from the ServiceNow CMDB, then send the spreadsheet to the department to review each application. Once the list of applications was accurate, we'd create a dashboard for them in Excel with graphs and charts depicting their current portfolio status. While spreadsheets allowed us to continue working, they had their shortcomings. The whole process was very static. There was always the danger of the data we collected being overwritten by someone who had access to the spreadsheet. It did not allow us to have the most up-to-date information, as we would pull data from the ServiceNow CMDB one month and still be using that same data the next month. We had to create graphs with static data in Excel or find the time to download the CMDB data again before creating graphs for department presentations. This was always very time-consuming. In 2019, we found ourselves half in the module and half in spreadsheets. We were using the development instance in ServiceNow to demonstrate the usefulness of the dashboards, and also to give the departments the graphs they used to get from Excel. We used spreadsheets to gather the information and uploaded anything new to the development instance. This was time-consuming and non-sustainable, but it gave the departments a glimpse into the future and helped them understand why we were constantly asking for information. Here's where we hit our stride. In early 2020, we finally kicked our spreadsheet habit, and the APM module made it to production. We had gone from static to dynamic. The departments we are working with can now see their dashboards in real time and make decisions based off of those dashboards. It's been a long road, but we've learned a lot about our organization and how we store information. In late 2018, we began with a whiteboard brainstorming session. This was going to be an in-house operation. We brought in subject matter experts from our Mayo teams and did not utilize outside consultation. We came up with a list of questions that we wanted the module to answer. How do you quantify an entire organization that spans multiple campuses, multiple specialties, and varying application use on each campus into the APM module? What data do our customers need to see in the APM module? What do we want to see in the APM module? What data do we already have in ServiceNow that can complement the information we will have in the APM module? How transparent do we want to be with our data? Who will have access to see the data versus who will have access to edit the data? What kind of reports and dashboards would be useful to our customers? We decided to start with our ideal version of APM and work towards a practical application of that version. As we set down the path of building the module for the first time in the development instance, we created a build document to record each step. The first item was the layout. How should a business application be presented on the APM form? We decided that for our customers' sake, the best thing to do was to create a layout similar to what they were used to seeing when they viewed an application. We then looked at the fields. What fields could we reference from the CMDB? What fields are specific to a business application that our customers need? And do we need any custom fields? What tables were we going to reference? There are tables specific to APM, such as application category and application family, along with tables that had information we wanted to reference outside of APM, like the application service table. What will our dashboards look like? Will we use the out-of-the-box dashboards or create custom dashboards? For our first pass, we decided on custom dashboards that would mirror the information our customers were already receiving from us in Excel. We decided early on that we wanted to be as transparent as possible, but we also knew we didn't want everyone being able to edit applications or dashboards within the module. Everyone in our organization will have access to view the module and the dashboards. With the first iteration of our module in production, the APM team will be the only ones editing the information. With only 4 departments currently in the module, this is quite feasible. As we grow, we will ask for delegates from each department who will have access to edit the information. When we worked out of spreadsheets, we could have as many fields as needed. Each department also contributed fields that they wanted to see in our data. We also noticed that some of the data we needed was incomplete from the CMDB. It was a challenge to work with only out-of-the-box fields that the APM module had. For instance, the locations that the applications are used was not always filled out in the CMDB. This is incredibly important information when we're dealing with an enterprise-wide department, which is determining what applications will be used by each site. There also wasn't a field for department, which we had to have for our dashboards. While this was a huge effort underway to standardize some of the fields in the future, we needed that information right away. In the first few iterations of our build in the development environment, we added multiple custom fields. We tried a free text location field and a drop-down location field. We had a field for department and then realized some applications are used by more than one department. So we created a multiple department field. Some departments wanted to classify their applications in ways beyond application category and family. So we had 3 different classifications for those scenarios. While we started with every field imaginable, we had to parse it down to what was feasible. We had a lively debate about out-of-the-box capabilities versus customizations we may need to make. Do we have the bandwidth to update those changes with each release if need be? Is it better to stay out of the box with our first release? We mapped out what we wanted to accomplish in the first year, second year, third year. In the end, we decided on a preliminary version of the module with one custom field for an application's classification and are working towards a more robust module in the future. I had built out the APM module in development 4 or 5 times already. We had our build, then the environment would be wiped for an update. I'd build it again, another wipe. And yes, we had everything backed up in an update set, but we'd realize something and want to start over anyhow. The 4th build was great, and I was hoping this was it. We were ready. I felt like these guys, confident, prepared. This was going to be so easy. I could build the business application form with my eyes closed. We had added about 700 applications to the table. We had our custom field for application classification. Things started to take a turn in the fall of 2019. There were rumblings of changes that needed to happen to the CMDB. All of a sudden, moving our module to production was not going to happen as fast as we thought. CSDM 2.0 appeared, and we realized that everything was going to be put on hold while that was worked out. Our applications were sitting on the CMDB table, and they should be on the application services table. We also had to wrangle with ACLs, or access control lists as we call them. These pesky rules restrict access to data by setting requirements. We had an ACL around duplicate name rules. Since the business application table sits within the CMDB, we couldn't use the same name for a business application if that name already existed in the CMDB. Hence, the duplicate name debacle of 2019. In the end, we turned that ACL off to accommodate the same names on the business table. Here is a look at how the tables interact under the CSDM 2.0. Currently, we are in the crawl phase, which you see here. We also have our eye on the walk phase, and eventually run. We have primarily focused on the business application table and how it interacts with the application services table. Let me show you how our custom dashboard works. We created a basic dashboard that works for our customers versus the out-of-box APM dashboards. This is an overview of all of the applications currently in the module and the graphs and charts that go with them. Then we also have a breakdown of our applications by department. Further, we have interactive filters, which are on each tab. Using the interactive filters on the right side, I can show applications that meet the criteria of being in-house. At the end of this journey, I came up with some things to remember when you are building your first APM module. Work closely with your CMDB partners. They are going to have the information you need when it comes to time to leverage the data the CMDB holds. And also understand how the business table interacts with the CMDB versus the application service table. Read and reread the CSDM 2.0 document. Is your organization crawling like us, or have they moved on to walking, running perhaps? How custom is too custom? We started out with everything we could have possibly wanted and parsed down to what we really needed. In the end, we did wind up with one custom field for our first iteration. The most current version of the module has 4 different permission levels, and we have had to determine how we would use those permissions and who would have what kind of access. Test, then test all the environments, then test again, and when you think you are done, test again. We like to call our current state APM 1.0, and that's what we have shared with you today. In the future, we've mapped out 3 specific upgrades we are going to make. In APM 2.0, we're looking at having bubble charts for our customers. APM 3.0 will be surveys. APM 4.0, or APM Money, as we like to call it, will be our cost data. And here are some images of what those updates will look like. Bubble charts will give us a picture of which applications are in good shape and which ones may need to be retired. Surveys allow our customers to tell us how well an application is working for them. Cost data will help us determine where to increase and decrease spending. Thank you for taking a trip with me down Module Lane. And now I will hand it over to Ann Bills to discuss our key takeaways.
Thank you, Anne. I will summarize our journey. Have you ever wanted to tear down something with heavy equipment? That desire crossed our minds a couple times. I can't emphasize enough the importance of enriching your configuration management database to match the common services data model. Don't skip this, as it is key to your success. Competing priorities will always be an issue. Plan for it, be flexible and creative to work through it. Set the stage for customers to see why this is worth the work. Include all levels, leadership and the business as a whole. You'll need to refresh them at intervals to keep momentum going. Socialize the value of APM from the top down. Have leadership send a clear message prioritizing this work and set progress touch points with their staff. Delayed gratification is always a challenge, especially in our want it now world. We shared little wins whenever we could, like dashboards to keep the momentum up. Lessons learned, what worked well and what could use some improvement. Let's look at what worked well first. Securing time by scheduling meetings well in advance from start to end emphasized the commitment to the engagement and blocked time on calendars. Having the right people at the table is key in speeding up the process and increasing accuracy. The wisdom of the crowd enriches information flow and accuracy since there is varying knowledge levels present in the room. A couple benefits are teaching those less experienced and sharing information, all the while grooming them for the next re-engagement. Finally, getting an up-to-date inventory was very beneficial to begin showing the benefits of APM in real time. Sharing the whole picture aided buy-in and helped customers see the value this work would provide. Dangling the dashboard carrot and doing a demo from the dev domain long before we could get into production was very motivating and eye-opening. Being flexible and adapting to the needs of the practice is key in medical institutions. Mayo Clinic's primary value is the needs of the patient come first, so that will always take precedence. Now let's look at opportunities for improvement. Customer buy-in was a challenge, especially since our oversight group is not a decision-making body.